What would you do if your husband discovered your darkest secret in front of everyone? How far can gaslighting and betrayal go before the law steps in? And whose side will your family take when the truth comes out? Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. The coffee maker gurgled to life as I tried to pretend everything was normal. My hands trembled slightly as I poured Nathan's usual black coffee into his favorite blue mug, the one Ellie had painted for him last Father's Day with wobbly yellow flowers. Nathan sat at our kitchen table, staring at his phone screen with an expression I'd never seen before. Not anger, not sadness, something colder, more final. "Morning, honey," I chirped, setting the mug beside his untouched toast. "Sleep okay?" He didn't look up, didn't even acknowledge I'd spoken. This was about last night, had to be, but how much did he actually know? The video Marcelo had posted was supposed to be private, just for his premium subscribers. How could Nathan have possibly? "Daddy, why aren't you eating?" Ellie bounced into the kitchen in her pink unicorn pajamas, her dark curls a mess from sleep. Nathan's face transformed instantly. The cold mask melted into genuine warmth as he scooped our 6-year-old daughter onto his lap. "Just thinking about work stuff, princess. Boring grown-up numbers." "Numbers are yucky," Ellie declared, stealing a piece of his toast. "Mummy, can I have chocolate milk?" "It's too early for chocolate, sweetheart." I forced brightness into my voice. "How about regular milk with your cereal?" Nathan's phone buzzed against the table. A text preview flashed across the locked screen, but he quickly flipped it face down before I could read the sender's name. His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "I need to get going," he said quietly, lifting Ellie back to her feet. He grabbed his work bag from the counter, the same brown leather satchel he'd carried for 8 years of marriage. "But you barely touched your breakfast." "Not hungry." He kissed the top of Ellie's head, then walked past me toward the garage door. No goodbye kiss. No, "Have a good day." Nothing. The door clicked shut behind him with unusual force. Ellie climbed onto his abandoned chair, reaching for the coffee mug. "Daddy seems sad." "He's just tired from work." I quickly moved the mug out of her reach. You know how Daddy gets when he has big projects. But this felt different. Nathan had always been patient, steady, sometimes maddeningly calm during our arguments. This silent treatment was new territory. My phone rang from the counter. Jenna's name flashed across the screen. "Mummy, Aunt Jenna's calling." "I see that, baby." I declined the call. My sister's timing was terrible as always. The last thing I needed was her prying questions about why I sounded stressed. As I cleaned up Nathan's untouched breakfast, I caught my reflection in the kitchen window. At 32, I still looked good. Better than good, if Marcelo's reaction last night was any indication. My auburn hair fell in perfect waves past my shoulders, and the yoga classes I'd been taking at his gym had definitely paid off. Nathan was being ridiculous. So, what if I'd been having a little fun? Marriage shouldn't mean becoming a boring housewife who lived only for grocery shopping and parent-teacher conferences. I deserved some excitement, some attention from someone who appreciated me. The video thing was just bad luck, a technical glitch or something. There was no way Nathan could have stumbled across Marcelo's premium content by accident. He barely knew how to update his phone apps, let alone navigate those kinds of websites. Ellie chattered about her upcoming school play while I packed her lunch, but my mind kept circling back to Nathan's expression. That cold, calculating look wasn't like him at all. His phone had buzzed right before he left. A text from someone important enough to make him flip the phone immediately. His lawyer, maybe? But why would his accountant friend David be texting so early? Unless it wasn't David. I shook off the paranoid thoughts. Nathan was probably just stressed about the Henderson audit he'd mentioned last week. Big corporate accounts always made him tense. "Mummy, you're squishing my sandwich," Ellie pointed out. I looked down at the mangled peanut butter and jelly in my hands. "Sorry, sweetheart. Let me make you a new one." Everything was fine. Nathan would cool off, realize he was overreacting, and we'd go back to normal. We always did. But as I walked Ellie to the school bus, I couldn't shake the image of his phone lighting up with that mystery text, or the way he'd looked at me across the breakfast table, like he was seeing someone he didn't recognize. The open-plan office felt different when I arrived at Morrison & Associates that morning. Conversation seemed to pause as I walked to my desk, then resume in hushed tones after I passed. Paranoid, I told myself. I was being paranoid. "Morning, Isola." Karen from HR waved from across the room with her usual cheerful smile. Everything seemed normal. I settled into my cubicle and powered up my computer, determined to focus on work. The quarterly reports wouldn't process themselves, and I had a reputation as one of the most efficient admin assistants in the company. My email inbox, loaded with the typical Monday morning chaos, meeting requests, expense reports, and vendor invoices. But buried between a facilities update and a birthday party invitation was a message that made my blood freeze. From Marcelo D. Fitness Trainer eggmail.com. Subject: Last night was wild scent 6:47 a.m. I glanced around quickly, then clicked delete without reading the message body. Marcelo knew better than to email me at work. We'd agreed to keep everything separate, professional lives completely compartmentalized. "Everything okay over there?" Lisa from accounting peered over our shared cubicle wall. "You look a little pale." "Just tired," I managed. "Ellie had nightmares last night." "Poor thing. Kids that age have such active imaginations." Lisa's smile seemed genuine enough, but something in her tone felt off. "How's Nathan handling the stress? I know you mentioned he's been working late lately." I hadn't mentioned Nathan working late. If anything, he'd been coming home earlier than usual the past few weeks. "He's fine. You know how accountants are during audit season." "Right." Lisa nodded slowly. "Well, if you need anything." She disappeared back behind her monitor, but I caught her reflection in my computer screen. She was typing rapidly, probably updating her group chat with the latest office gossip. The morning dragged on with an undercurrent of whispered conversations and sideways glances. During my coffee break, I overheard fragments of hushed discussion near the copy machine. "Can't believe she would. Poor guy probably had no idea. Kids involved too, which makes it..." The voices stopped abruptly when I rounded the corner. "Morning, ladies." I smiled brightly at Janet and Michelle from customer service. "Beautiful day, isn't it?" They exchanged a look I couldn't quite interpret. "Sure is," Janet replied carefully. "How's your family doing, Isola?" "Wonderful. Ellie's got her school play coming up, and Nathan's been working on this big client presentation." The lies came easily. "Actually, things couldn't be better." Michelle nodded with the kind of forced enthusiasm people use when they know something you don't know they know. Back at my desk, I tried to focus on the Henderson account reconciliation, but concentration was impossible. Every phone ring, every footstep past my cubicle, every muffled conversation felt loaded with hidden meaning. Around 11, my direct supervisor appeared at my workstation. "Isola, do you have a minute?" Mr. Patterson's usual warm demeanor seemed strained. "I'd like to have a quick chat." My heart hammered against my ribs. "Of course. Is everything all right?" "Just some routine administrative stuff. Nothing to worry about." But his eyes told a different story. I followed him to his corner office, my mind racing through possible explanations. Had someone seen Marcelo's video? Did it somehow connect back to my workplace? The gym was only 3 blocks away, and several of my co-workers were members. Patterson closed the door and gestured to the chair across from his desk. "How are things at home, Isola? You've seemed a bit distracted lately." "Everything's fine." I clasped my hands in my lap to stop them from shaking. "Why do you ask?" "Well, there's been some chatter, nothing specific, you understand, But in a company this size, people talk. He leaned back in his chair, studying my face. I want to make sure you're aware that our employee handbook has clear policies about conduct that might reflect negatively on the company. The room felt like it was tilting. I'm not sure what you're implying. I'm not implying anything, just reminding you that we value professionalism and discretion in all aspects of our employees' lives. His tone remained carefully neutral, particularly when it comes to social media and online activities. Online activities, he knew. Somehow someone had connected me to that video. Mr. Patterson, I think there might be some misunderstanding. I hope so. He opened a folder on his desk and pulled out a printed email. This came to my attention this morning, an anonymous tip suggesting I should look into one of my staff members' extracurricular activities. The paper shook slightly in his hands as he held it up. I couldn't read the text from my angle, but I didn't need to. I haven't acted on this information, he continued, but I wanted you to know that it exists, and to suggest that you might want to address any personal situations that could impact your professional reputation. I stood up on unsteady legs. I understand. Thank you for the heads up. Isola, he called as I reached for the door handle. Whatever's going on, I hope you can resolve it quietly. You're a good employee, and I'd hate to see that change. The walk back to my cubicle felt like a death march. Every eye in the office seemed to track my movement. Every conversation seemed to pause as I passed. At my desk, I found a yellow sticky note attached to my monitor. HR wants to see you at 2 p.m. Karen. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely type. I pulled up a browser window and searched for Marcelo's fitness website, then navigated to the premium content section. My username and password still worked, but when I clicked on last night's video, a message appeared. Content temporarily unavailable. Either Marcelo had taken it down, or the platform had removed it for violating terms of service. Too little, too late. My phone buzzed with a text from Jenna. Call me. Now. We need to talk. I deleted the message without responding. Whatever my sister wanted to discuss could wait. I had bigger problems than family drama. The afternoon stretched endlessly. Every minute that passed brought me closer to that 2 p.m. meeting with HR. Every glance from a coworker felt like judgment. Every whispered conversation felt like evidence of my professional reputation crumbling in real time. At 1:58 p.m., I walked toward Karen's office with as much dignity as I could muster. Whatever was about to happen, I would handle it with grace and professionalism. But deep down, I knew my carefully constructed life was about to collapse. The Riverside Elementary Community Center buzzed with the controlled chaos of a school fundraiser. Parents clustered around silent auction tables, while children ran between displays of student artwork. The annual spring carnival was supposed to be fun, a celebration of another successful school year. Instead, it felt like walking into a courtroom where I was the defendant. Nathan stood near the face painting booth, watching Ellie get transformed into a butterfly. He'd barely spoken during the car ride over, responding to my attempts at conversation with non-committal grunts. Even Ellie had noticed the tension, asking twice if Mommy and Daddy were fighting. We're just tired, sweetheart, I'd told her. Sometimes grown-ups need quiet time to think. Now, watching Nathan interact with other parents, I could see how forced his smiles were, how quickly he ended conversations, how his eyes never quite met mine when I approached their group. Isola, Susan Martinez waved me over to the bake sale table. Your chocolate chip cookies sold out in the first hour. You'll have to share that recipe. I'd bought those cookies at the grocery store, but Susan didn't need to know that. Family secret, I said with a wink. Passed down through generations. Susan laughed, but her husband Mark barely acknowledged my presence. Strange, considering we'd chatted easily at the last PTA meeting about his landscaping business. How's Nathan doing? Susan asked, glancing toward my husband. He seems a bit subdued today. Just work stress. You know how it is with tax season ending. I kept my voice light and casual. He gets so focused on those spreadsheets, he forgets to eat sometimes. Right. Susan's smile faltered slightly. Well, tell him Mark says hello. We should all get together for dinner soon. But Mark had already moved away, steering Susan toward the ring toss game without a backward glance. The pattern repeated throughout the afternoon. Conversations that started normally would suddenly grow stilted. Parents who usually included me in their discussions would find reasons to step away. Children played as always, but the adults treated me like I had some contagious disease. Mummy, look! Ellie ran over with her butterfly face paint gleaming under the fluorescent lights. Mrs. Chen said I looked beautiful. You always look beautiful, baby. I knelt down to admire the artist's work, grateful for a moment of genuine joy in this increasingly uncomfortable afternoon. Can we get cotton candy, please? Daddy said maybe. Of course. Let's go find... There you are. Nathan's voice behind me was carefully neutral. Ellie, Grandma Manuela is here. She wants to see your face paint. I turned to see my mother-in-law approaching with her usual measured stride. At 60, Manuela Vey carried herself with the quiet authority of someone who'd raised 4 children and buried 1 husband. Her silver hair was pulled back in an elegant bun, and her dark eyes missed nothing. Abuela! Ellie launched herself into Manuela's arms. Mi mariposa hermosa, Manuela murmured, examining the butterfly design with appropriate grandmotherly enthusiasm. But when she looked at me, her expression cooled noticeably. Hello, Manuela. I didn't know you were coming. Nathan called this morning, said the family needed to stick together during difficult times. Her tone was pleasant enough, but the words carried weight. How are you holding up, mija? The endearment felt more like a challenge than affection. I'm fine. We're all fine. Good. Manuela's gaze shifted to Nathan, some unspoken communication passing between them. Ellie, why don't you show me the art display? I want to see that painting you made of our house. As they walked away, Nathan finally looked directly at me for the first time all day. We need to talk, he said quietly. Here? Now? I glanced around at the crowded room. Can't it wait until we get home? No, it can't. He gestured toward a quieter corner near the stage where the school choir would perform later. 5 minutes. I followed him, my heels clicking against the polished floor. Several parents tracked our movement with undisguised interest. The gossip network in this town was more efficient than the internet. Nathan, whatever you think you know, I know exactly what I know. His voice was low but sharp. The question is whether you're going to keep lying about it. My heart hammered against my ribs. I don't know what you mean. The video, Isola, the one where you're doing things with your personal trainer that married women don't typically do during workout sessions. The words hit like physical blows. How did you... Does it matter how? It exists. It's online. It has your face in it. Nathan's composure cracked slightly. Our daughter could see it someday. My mother could see it. My co-workers, your co-workers, everyone we know could see it. It was a mistake. A stupid, impulsive mistake that meant nothing. Mistake? Nathan's laugh was bitter. Which part was the mistake? Sleeping with him, recording it, or letting him post it online? I didn't know he was recording. The lie came out too quickly, too desperately. Marcelo said it was just for us, something private. Marcelo. Nathan repeated the name like it tasted bad. Your trainer, the one you've been seeing 3 times a week for fitness consultations. Nathan, please. Can we discuss this at home? People are staring. Let them stare. I'm done protecting your reputation when you clearly don't give a damn about mine. Across the room, I caught Manuela watching us, while Ellie examined a display of science projects. Other parents had stopped pretending they weren't listening to our conversation. You're being dramatic, I hissed. So I made a mistake. So what? We can work through this like adults. Adults don't humiliate their families on the internet for fun. Nathan pulled out his phone and showed me the screen. Adults don't get text messages like this from their affair partners during their daughter's school events. The message was from Marcelo. "Babe, the video's gone viral. My subscriber count tripled overnight. We should make another one." I'd forgotten Nathan had my phone synced to his tablet for family calendar purposes. Every text I received showed up on his device too. "I'll tell him to stop," I whispered frantically. "I'll end it completely. We can go to counseling. Work on our marriage." "Our marriage?" Nathan pocketed his phone. "You ended our marriage the moment you decided your personal entertainment was more important than our family." "Daddy, Mommy!" Ellie's voice cut through our argument. She was running toward us with Manuela close behind, her butterfly wings bouncing with each step. Nathan's expression shifted instantly, the anger replaced by forced cheerfulness. "What is it, Princess?" "The cotton candy man is leaving soon. Can we get some now, please?" "Of course." Nathan scooped her up, his voice gentle despite the storm in his eyes. "Let's go before he runs out of the pink kind." As they walked away, Manuela lingered beside me. "Mija," she said quietly, "whatever you've done, you need to fix it. That man has been patient with you for 8 years, but even saints have limits." "I don't know what Nathan told you, but—" "He didn't need to tell me anything. I have eyes." Manuela's voice was steel, wrapped in velvet. "And I have a phone. Half the women in my church group sent me the same video link this morning." The room tilted. If Manuela's church friends had seen it, that meant the video had spread far beyond Marcelo's premium subscribers. It was probably on free sites now, shared and reshared, until it reached every corner of our small community. "Manuela, please." "Please what?" "Please pretend my son isn't being humiliated. Please ignore that my granddaughter might see her mother's performance when she gets older." Manuela stepped closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "You have one chance to make this right, Isola. One chance to put your family first. Don't waste it." She walked away, leaving me standing alone near the stage as the school choir began setting up their equipment. Around me, the carnival continued, but I felt like I was watching it through glass, separated from the normal world by my own choices. Nathan returned with Ellie, who was happily destroying a cloud of pink cotton candy. He didn't look at me as he announced it was time to go home. The car ride was silent, except for Ellie's chatter about face painting and games. But I could feel Nathan's anger radiating from the driver's seat, and I knew that whatever happened next would change everything. Marcello's Italian restaurant had been our go-to spot for family celebrations for years. The red brick walls and checkered tablecloths created a cozy atmosphere that usually made everyone relax and laugh. Tonight, it felt like a stage set for a disaster. We were celebrating Jenna's 34th birthday, though my sister looked anything but celebratory as she picked at her Caesar salad. She'd been avoiding eye contact since we arrived, responding to my attempts at conversation with one-word answers. "So, Ellie," Jenna finally spoke up, "tell me about your school play. Are you still playing the princess?" "I'm the fairy godmother," Ellie corrected, twirling her spaghetti with intense concentration. "I get to wave a magic wand and make everything better." "How wonderful," Manuela said from across the table. "Magic wands that can fix problems. If only real life worked that way." The comment was clearly directed at me, but I pretended not to notice. Nathan sat beside me in stony silence, mechanically cutting his chicken parmesan while scrolling through his phone. "Nathan, could you put that away?" I tried to keep my tone light. "It's family dinner." He looked at me for the first time all evening. "Just checking work emails. The Henderson audit has some complications." "On Saturday night?" Jenna raised an eyebrow. "That seems excessive, even for you." "Sometimes complications can't wait for business hours," Nathan replied, but he pocketed the phone. Our server approached with the wine list, and I quickly ordered a bottle of Chianti. If I was going to survive this dinner, I needed alcohol. "Make it 2 glasses," I told the server. I'm celebrating my sister's birthday. Actually, Jenna said quietly, I'm driving tonight. Just water for me. Since when did Jenna turn down wine? She'd always been the fun sister, the one who suggested shots during girls' nights and laughed too loudly at inappropriate jokes. More for me then, I said with forced cheer. We should toast to another year of Jenna's wisdom and beauty. Let's wait until everyone's ready, Manuela suggested, but her tone made it clear she thought toasting was premature. The wine arrived quickly, and I took a generous sip before raising my glass. To my amazing sister, who's always been there for me through thick and thin. Nobody else lifted their glasses. Come on, guys, I laughed nervously. It's a birthday dinner. We're supposed to be celebrating. Are we? Jenna's voice was barely above a whisper. Because I'm not feeling very celebratory right now. What's that supposed to mean? Jenna glanced at Nathan, then at Manuela, then back at her salad. Maybe we could talk about this later, privately. Talk about what? I was genuinely confused now. Jenna, if something's bothering you, something's bothering all of us, Isola. Manuela set down her fork with deliberate precision. The question is whether you're going to acknowledge it or keep pretending everything's normal. Ellie looked up from her spaghetti, sensing the tension. Why is everyone sad? It's supposed to be a happy dinner. You're right, sweetheart, Nathan said gently. Sometimes grown-ups forget how to be happy, but that's not your fault. Is it Mommy's fault? Ellie asked with the brutal honesty of a 6-year-old. The table fell silent. Even the ambient restaurant noise seemed to fade as everyone waited for someone to answer. Nobody's at fault, I said finally. Sometimes families just have disagreements. About what? Ellie persisted. Adult stuff, Nathan answered. Nothing for you to worry about. But Ellie wasn't satisfied. Are you and Mommy getting divorced like Tommy's parents? The question hung in the air, like smoke from a fire. I felt my face flush hot, whether from the wine or embarrassment, I couldn't tell. Ellie, eat your dinner, Manuela said firmly. The grown-ups need to have a conversation. About divorce? About being honest, Jenna spoke up suddenly. About telling the truth even when it's hard. I stared at my sister. What truth? What are you talking about? The video, Isola, the one that half the town has seen by now. Jenna's voice was steady but sad. The one where you're with someone who isn't your husband. My wine glass slipped from my fingers, red liquid splashing across the white tablecloth. How did you... Karen from your office sent it to me this morning. Said she thought I should know what my sister was up to. Jenna pulled out her phone and showed me the screen. 43,000 views and counting. The room spun. 43,000 people had watched me with Marcello. 43,000 strangers had seen me betray my marriage, my family, my daughter's future. I can explain. Can you? Nathan's voice was deadly quiet, because I'd love to hear an explanation that makes sense. It was a mistake, a stupid, impulsive mistake that got out of hand. The words tumbled out desperately. Marcello said it was private, just between us. Marcello, Jenna interrupted. Your trainer, the one you've been raving about for months. It wasn't supposed to happen. I was feeling neglected, unappreciated. So you decided to film yourself cheating on your husband. Manuela's voice cut like a blade. And let him post it online for the world to see. I didn't know he was posting it. The lie felt hollow even as I spoke it. I thought it was just for us. Mommy, Ellie's small voice broke through the argument. Why is everyone yelling? We're not yelling, baby. I reached for her hand, but she pulled away. You are too yelling, and you're crying. Ellie's lower lip trembled. I want to go home. Nathan's phone buzzed against the table. He glanced at the screen, and his face went completely white. What is it? I asked. Reminder alert, he said quietly. I have an appointment Monday morning. What kind of appointment? Nathan looked directly at me, and I saw something I'd never seen in his eyes before. Not anger, not hurt, resolution. The kind that handles situations like this properly, he said. The kind that protects innocent people from the consequences of other people's choices. Nathan, what are you talking about? I'm talking about doing what I should have done the moment I found out. He stood up from the table, pulling out his wallet. I'm talking about making sure Ellie doesn't have to pay for your mistakes. He threw 2 20s on the table and picked up Ellie, who wrapped her arms around his neck. We're leaving, he announced. Manuela, would you mind driving Isola home? I think she's had too much wine to make good decisions. Nathan, wait. But he was already walking toward the exit, carrying our daughter away from the wreckage of our family dinner. Jenna stood up slowly. I'm sorry, Isola. I really am. But I can't pretend this is okay. Jenna, please. I have to go. Happy birthday to me, I guess. She grabbed her purse and followed Nathan toward the door. I was left alone at the table with Manuela, who was methodically folding her napkin with the same precision she brought to everything else. What appointment was Nathan talking about? I asked. Manuela looked at me with something that might have been pity. The kind that happens when a good man reaches his limit, mija. The kind that changes everything. She stood up and placed a gentle hand on my shoulder. You should call a cab, and you should think very carefully about what you're going to do next, because whatever Nathan has planned, he's not the same man who's been patient with you all these years. What does that mean? It means, Manuela said quietly, that you're about to find out what happens when you push a saint too far. She walked away, leaving me alone with the stained tablecloth and the growing certainty that my life was about to change in ways I couldn't control. The house felt different when Nathan and I finally returned home that night. Ellie had fallen asleep in the car, and Nathan carried her straight to her room without saying a word to me. I heard him reading her a bedtime story through the closed door, his voice gentle and soothing despite everything that had happened. I waited in our bedroom, still wearing the blue dress I'd chosen so carefully for Jenna's birthday dinner. The dress that was supposed to make me look like the perfect wife and mother. Instead, it felt like a costume for a role I was no longer qualified to play. When Nathan finally appeared in the doorway, he was carrying a suitcase. What's that for? I asked, though I already knew. I'm sleeping in the guest room. He moved to our shared dresser and began pulling out clothes. Permanently. Nathan, come on. Don't you think you're being a little dramatic? He paused, a stack of t-shirts in his hands. Dramatic? My wife made a sex tape with another man, and I'm being dramatic for not wanting to share a bed with her anymore. It wasn't a sex tape. It was we were just fooling around. 43,000 people have seen you fooling around with someone who isn't me. Nathan's voice was eerily calm. 43,000 strangers know what my wife looks like naked, what she sounds like when she's enjoying herself with another man. The clinical way he described it made everything sound so much worse. I can fix this. I can make it right. How? Nathan folded his clothes with mechanical precision. How do you unring a bell? How do you make 43,000 people forget what they've seen? We could move, start over somewhere new. We? Nathan turned to face me fully. There is no we anymore, Isola. There's you and there's me, and there's Ellie caught in the middle of the mess you created. I created. You're the one who's been distant and cold for months. You're the one who stopped paying attention to me, stopped making me feel wanted. So it's my fault you cheated. Nathan's composure finally cracked. It's my fault you humiliated our family online. I'm not saying it's your fault. I'm saying we both contributed to the problems in our marriage. I contributed by working 60-hour weeks to pay for this house, your car, Ellie's private school, and your gym membership. You contributed by fucking your trainer and letting him film it. The crude language was so unlike Nathan that it hit me like a slap. He never swore, especially not about intimate things. Don't talk to me like that. Like what, honestly? Nathan zipped up the suitcase with violent force. You want me to keep pretending everything's fine? Keep protecting your feelings while you destroy our daughter's future? I'm not destroying anything. Kids are resilient. Kids are cruel. Nathan headed for the door. And in about 5 years, when Ellie's classmates start discovering the internet, they're going to find that video. They're going to see their friend's mother in a compromising position with a man who isn't their friend's father. And they're going to make sure Ellie knows exactly what they've seen. The thought hadn't occurred to me. In 5 years, Ellie would be 11, old enough to understand what she was seeing, young enough to be devastated by it. We'll figure it out when the time comes. No. Nathan stopped in the doorway. I'll figure it out, because I'm going to make sure Ellie has every protection the law allows. What does that mean? It means I'm done letting you make decisions that affect our daughter's well-being. Nathan's voice was steady again, but there was steel underneath. It means I'm going to handle this situation properly, legally, and permanently. Nathan, wait. But he was already gone, the guest room door clicking shut behind him with an air of finality. I sat on our bed, my bed now, apparently, and tried to process what had just happened. Nathan had never been the type to make ultimatums or threats. He was patient, reasonable, willing to talk through problems until we found solutions. This version of Nathan was different, colder, more decisive. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I found Marcelo's number. If Nathan was going to be unreasonable, maybe I could at least control the source of the problem. The phone rang 4 times before Marcelo answered. Hey, beautiful. Rough night. Take it down, I said without preamble. The video. Take it down now. Babe, relax. You sound stressed. Of course I'm stressed. My husband knows. My sister knows. My mother-in-law knows. Half the town has seen it. So, you look amazing in it. You should be proud. Proud? I nearly screamed. Proud that I've destroyed my marriage and humiliated my family. Your marriage was already dead, Isola. I just helped you realize it. Marcelo's tone was maddeningly casual. Besides, it's too late to take it down. It's been downloaded and reshared on dozens of sites. The genie's out of the bottle. You said it was private. I said it was for premium subscribers. And it was, initially. But good content finds its way to free sites eventually. That's just how the internet works. You used me. We used each other. And we both got what we wanted. You got attention and excitement. I got content and subscribers. I could hear him shrugging through the phone. Win-win. My 6-year-old daughter could see this someday. That's not my problem, babe. You're the one who agreed to make it. The casual cruelty of his response left me speechless. This was the man I'd risked everything for. This selfish, manipulative user who saw my destroyed family as collateral damage for his business. Don't call me again, I whispered. Your choice. But if you change your mind about making a sequel, you know where to find me. He hung up, leaving me alone with the wreckage of my life. From the guest room, I could hear Nathan on the phone with someone. His voice was too low to make out words, but the tone was businesslike, professional. Whatever he was planning, it was already in motion. I lay back on the bed and stared at the ceiling, trying to figure out how everything had gone so wrong so quickly. 3 days ago, I'd been a respected member of the community, a devoted mother, a wife with a few harmless secrets. Now I was the town scandal, and my husband was making mysterious appointments that would handle the situation properly. For the first time since this whole mess started, I felt genuinely afraid. Not of Nathan, he would never hurt me physically, but of what he might do legally, of how far his patience and protection had been stretched before finally snapping, of what handling it properly might mean for my future with Ellie. Monday morning arrived grey and drizzling, matching my mood perfectly. I'd barely slept, spending most of the night listening to Nathan move around the guest room and make hushed phone calls. By the time I dragged myself to the kitchen for coffee, he was already gone. A note on the counter explained he'd taken Ellie to school and wouldn't be home until evening. No explanation of where he was going or what his mysterious appointment involved. I called in sick to work, unable to face another day of whispered conversations and pitying looks. Instead, I spent the morning researching divorce lawyers, and trying to figure out what Nathan might be planning. The internet search results were terrifying. Words like custody, evidence, and moral fitness jumped out at me from legal websites. I'd always assumed that if we ever divorced, we'd split custody 50-50 like civilized adults. But the more I read, the more I realized that my recent activities might have shifted the balance dramatically. Around noon, my phone rang. Nathan's number flashed on the screen. "Where are you?" I answered without saying hello. "Downtown. We need to talk." "Finally. When will you be home?" "I'm not coming home. You need to come here." Nathan's voice was different, official, almost formal. "The courthouse, main lobby, 20 minutes. "The courthouse? Nathan, what?" 20 minutes, Isola. Don't be late." The line went dead. I threw on the first decent clothes I could find, a black skirt and white blouse that seemed appropriate for whatever legal nightmare was about to unfold. The drive downtown took 15 minutes through lunch traffic, my hands shaking on the steering wheel, as I tried to imagine what Nathan had planned. The courthouse lobby was busier than I'd expected, filled with lawyers in expensive suits and ordinary people dealing with life's bureaucratic necessities. I spotted Nathan immediately, standing near the information desk in his best navy suit. He wasn't alone. Manuela stood beside him, dressed in her church clothes and carrying a manila folder thick with documents. On Nathan's other side was a man I didn't recognize, tall, gray-haired, wearing the kind of tailored suit that screamed expensive attorney. "Nathan?" I approached the group cautiously. "What's going on?" "Mrs. Vey?" A fourth person stepped forward, a middle-aged woman with short blonde hair and a professional demeanor. "My name is Patricia Chen. I'm a certified process server." My blood turned to ice. "A what?" "I have documents that need to be delivered to you personally." She held up a thick manila envelope. "Are you Isola Marie Vey, currently residing at 1247 Maple Street?" Yes, but..." "Then these are for you." She pressed the envelope into my hands with practiced efficiency. "You've been served." The lobby seemed to spin around me. Other people had stopped their conversations to watch the drama unfold. A few were even recording with their phones. "Nathan, what is this?" "It's me handling the situation properly," he said quietly, "like I promised." I tore open the envelope with trembling fingers. The first document was titled Petition for Dissolution of Marriage. The second was Motion for Temporary Custody and Support. The third made my knees buckle. Request for Emergency Custody Order based on moral fitness concerns. "You're trying to take Ellie away from me." "I'm trying to protect her from the consequences of your choices." Nathan's voice was steady, but I could see the pain in his eyes. The court will decide what's best for her welfare. This is insane. I made one mistake. One mistake that's been viewed by over 100,000 people now, the grey-haired lawyer interjected. One mistake that's caused significant reputational damage to your family and could affect your daughter's emotional well-being. "Who are you?" "James Morrison, Mr. Vey's attorney." He handed me his business card. "I'd recommend you retain counsel immediately. The hearing for temporary custody is scheduled for Thursday." "Thursday? That's only 3 days away." "Emergency motions move quickly when child welfare is involved," Morrison explained, "especially when there's documented evidence of parental behavior that could be considered detrimental." I looked around desperately for support, but the faces surrounding me were stone cold. Even Manuela, who'd always treated me like a daughter, watched with sad but resolute eyes. "Nathan, please, we can work this out without lawyers and courts. Think about what this will do to Ellie." "I am thinking about Ellie. That's all I've been thinking about." Nathan stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Do you know what she asked me this morning?" I shook my head. "She asked why the other kids at school were whispering about her mommy. She asked if she did something wrong to make everyone act strange." Nathan's composure cracked slightly. Our 6-year-old daughter thinks she's responsible for the way people are treating our family now. I can fix this. How? The video has been downloaded and shared on dozens of platforms. It's permanent, Isola. It will follow our family forever, unless I take steps to minimize the damage. By taking my daughter away from me. By ensuring she has at least one parent whose judgment she can trust. Nathan gestured to the documents in my hands. Everything you need to know is in there. Custody schedule, financial arrangements, behavioral requirements if you want visitation rights. Behavioral requirements? No contact with Marcelo Duval. Mandatory counseling. Social media restrictions. Morrison ticked off the conditions on his fingers. Standard provisions when moral fitness is in question. The courthouse lobby felt like it was closing in around me. People were still watching, still recording. By tonight, video of me being served divorce papers would probably be circulating online alongside the original scandal. I need time to process this, I said weakly. You have until Thursday, Nathan replied. The temporary hearing will determine custody arrangements until the final divorce decree. And if I fight this, then we'll present all the evidence to a judge and let them decide what's best for Ellie. Morrison's tone was professionally neutral, including the video evidence, witness statements about your behavior, and expert testimony about the psychological impact on your daughter. Witness statements? Your co-workers, neighbors, family members. Morrison consulted his notes. People who've observed the deterioration of your marriage and your recent extracurricular activities. I looked at Manuela, who'd been silent throughout this entire exchange. You're going to testify against me? I'm going to tell the truth, Mija, she said sadly. About what I've seen, what I know, and what I think is best for my granddaughter. This is unbelievable. You're all ganging up on me because I made one mistake. It wasn't one mistake, Nathan interrupted. It was a series of choices that showed you care more about your own satisfaction than your family's well-being. The video was just the final proof. The process server cleared her throat. Ma'am, I need you to sign this receipt confirming delivery. I scrawled my signature on her clipboard with a hand that barely functioned. Around us, the courthouse lobby had returned to its normal bustle, but I felt like I was standing in the center of a hurricane. Nathan, I tried one last time. Please don't do this. Think about what divorce will do to Ellie. Think about what growing up in a broken home. She's already growing up in a broken home, Nathan said quietly. I'm just trying to fix the parts I can control. He turned and walked toward the courthouse exit, Morrison and Manuela flanking him like bodyguards. I stood alone in the lobby, clutching divorce papers and watching my marriage disappear through the revolving doors. The woman who'd recorded the whole scene approached me with her phone still out. Excuse me, aren't you the woman from that video? The one with the trainer? I didn't answer. I couldn't answer. I just walked toward the parking garage with as much dignity as I could muster, knowing that by tomorrow, everyone in town would know that Nathan Vey had served his cheating wife with divorce papers in the most public way possible, and knowing that I had no one to blame but myself.